Hello, Pramod sir. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Very good evening to everybody. Friends, it's my honor and pride privilege to extend a hearty welcome to all of you to today's evening webinar organized by Philosophy Family. Friends, Philosophy Family has organized hundreds of webinars during the Corona pandemic for the greater interest of students of philosophy and, and the teachers of philosophy across the country. In every week after the post-pandemic, we are also organizing one or two webinars for the noble cause of philosophy. Today, the topic of the webinar is the philosophy of Bhima Bhoi and Mohima Dharma. The distinguished speaker of today's webinar is Professor Dr. Harishchandra Sahu. At present, Professor Sahu is working as Professor Santha Kavi Bhima Bhoi Research Chair in KISS deemed to be University Bhubaneswar. Thanks so much, Dr. Sahu, for making time for us from his busy schedule. But prior to the talk of Professor Sahu, let me speak a few words on his academic records. Professor Sahu, having a brilliant academic career throughout, and he has obtained PhD from Utkal University in 1989. After rendering 37 years of teaching, both in UG and PG level in different government colleges of Odisha, Professor Sahu retired from service as Class 1 OES cadre. His area of interest includes philosophy of mind, philosophy of analytical philosophy, ethics, moral philosophy, Indian value, and culture. Professor Sahu has published a number of books, perhaps more than 10 books. Some of his books named Contemporary Indian Philosophy, Dream and Sleep, a study in philosophy in mind, ethics, theory and practices, philosophy of Bhima Bhoi and Mohima Dharma, published by KISS University, Bhubaneswar, and introduction to practical ethics and many other books. And all his books have gained popularity among the UG and PG level of the students across the country. And Professor Sahu has a member of board of editors and co-author in a couple of books, and he has also edited many books. Apart from it, Professor Sahu completed two minor research projects of UGC. One of his scholar has also been awarded doctorate degree under his supervision. Professor Sahu participated many state level, national level, and international seminars, and he has also organized many state level and national level seminars. Professor Sahu is very dynamic both in academics and administrative work. To mark his dynamic administrative skill, Professor Sahu has discharged his duty as a member of board of editors, board of studies in different autonomous college like Salepur Autonomous College, SS Autonomous College, Honorable Autonomous College, and the Ramadevi Women's University. And he has also been assigned the prestigious position as the chairman, board of studies, BJV College, Utkal University, and the chairman, Subject Research Committee, SRC. And Professor Sahu has gained many awards and felicitation for his contribution to philosophy and research. He has been awarded as Dr. Radhakrishnan Memorial Seal as the best seminar presenter in his student life from Bani Bihar, and he was also a best actor in the drama named Abhigyana Shakuntalam. So he was a brilliant student. He was a brilliant actor also. And I don't want to reflect all of his philosophic and co-curricular acumen, which have made him very popular among his students and staff members wherever he was working as a teacher in philosophy. But due to the passage of time, it's not possible to reflect upon all his contribution to the philosophic world. I welcome him to philosophy family. Today, I can see some the faces of some important figures, and I can see the face of Professor Dhaneshwar Sahu, Dr. Patitavan Das, Ramankanta Nanda, and many others. Today, I welcome all of them. I welcome Professor Sahu. I welcome also Professor Pramod Kumar Das, the convener, host, and admin of philosophy family. Today, Sri Das will deliver his concluding remark after the talk of Professor Sahu. I also welcome Dr. K. Omnaran Rao, who will moderate in the interactive session. With these words, I now invite Professor Sahu to start his speech. Sir, pranam, sir. Pranam. Over to Professor Sahu. Over to Professor Sahu. Sir, pranam, sir. Sir, pranam. Hello. Sir, pranam. Sir, please unmute yourself. Sir, Harish, sir. Harish, sir. Harish, sir. Please unmute yourself and start your speech. Harish, sir. Pramod. Pramod.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
हेलो सर आपनकर माइक टा
Sir, pranam, sir.
now I am audible. Now I am audible.
Very good, sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I express my deep sense of gratitude to the organizers of philosophy family, particularly Pragya Kanungo, Pramod Das, Kailash Maharana, Dr. K. Om Narayan Rao, for giving me an opportunity to express some of my ideas and to share with the esteemed and distinguished members of the forum. I deem it a privilege to interact with my friends, like-minded persons of the team. The topic under reference, a philosophy of Bhima Bhoi and Mahima Dharma, can be approached from 4 different angles. It has the first aspect is its philosophical aspect, where we could discuss God as Sunya, Pinda Brahmanda Tattva, Guru Tattva, the way to attain liberation, and spiritual humanism. The other approach is a sociological approach. What was the social scenario by that time when Mahima Dharma started exploring? What was the condition, the then condition of the society? Another is a historical approach where there is a record of the past and the present. The past of Mahima Dharma and the present scenario. And the fourth one is a literary aspect, especially the role of Panchasakhas in Odisha, the Panchasakha movement, and how it has deep impact on Bhima Bhoi and Mahima Dharma. These are the 4 angles. Let me start with Mahima Dharma. As you know, Odisha has been the meeting ground of many religious philosophical systems such as Buddhism, Jainism, Vaishnavism, Shaktism, Vedanta, and Panchasakha, etc., culminating into Jagannatha cult, which has its root in aboriginal forms of worship, embraced different religious streams to emerge as a system of full-fledged religious syncretism. But during the last few decades of 19th century, there was a dominance of strict orthodoxism and caste-bound society, leading to the neglect of aspiration of the people belonging to the lower strata of the society. At this juncture of value crisis, a new religious movement emerged called as Mahima Dharma, led by Mahima Gosai. Now, Mahima Dharma is a new religious cult that has appealed the deprived, downtrodden, marginalized class with its ritual, mythology, ethics, as distinguished from the traditional religion. Mahima Gosai, the founder of Mahima Dharma, is often called as Mahima Swami, Gupta Prabuddha Sannyasi, who is wisdom incarnate. He is not an ordinary human person. He is not born from womb. He is Ajoni Sambhuta. As the incarnation of Mahima, who came down to the earth to mitigate the sorrows and suffering of the downtrodden class, with a motive to mitigate the sorrows and sufferings, and to establish a classless and caste-based society, classless and casteless society. He is Sunya Purusa. Mahima Olekho is formless. He is the creator of all creation. He is the primordial who creates, preserves the universe. This concept of there is the concept of Sunyavada, and it has striking similarity with the Sunya as described in the writings of the Panchasakha, like Ananta, Achyuta, Dasavanta, and Balarama. As regards to as regards to him, it is written, Jonire janama nuhe, garbhare naruhe, ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କୁ ଗଢ଼ି ଅଛି ତାଙ୍କୁ ଗଢ଼ି ନାହିଁ କିଏ ମହିମା ଠାରୁ ହୋଇଛି ଅଲେଖ ବ୍ରହ୍ମାଣ୍ଡ ଅଲେଖ ପୁରୁଷ ସେହୁ ପୁରୁଷ ଅଖଣ୍ଡ. Now it is pertinent to ask, who is this Mahima Goswami, who has taken the form of a human being, and he has descended down to the earth for the mitigation of the sufferings of the mankind. The era to which he belongs to is Kali Yuga, and which is full of injustice. Thus, the prime duty of the Mahima Goswami was to restore peace in the society as its savior. ବେଳୁ ବେଳ ପୃଥି ହେଲାଣି ଉତ୍ପାତ ଘୋର କଳିକାଳ ପାପୁ ଏ ଜଗତେ ନର ଅନ୍ୟାୟ ଆଚାରେ ବହି ଯିବ ଦେଖୁ ଦେଖୁ ବହୁତ ଅନ୍ୟାୟ ଦେଖିଲୁ ତେଣୁଟି ଆମ୍ଭେ ଉଦେ ହେଲୁ ସ୍ୱରୂପ ବୁଦ୍ଧ ଅବତାର ନିର୍ବେଦ କରିଛୁ ବିସ୍ତାର ଧର୍ମରେ ରହୁ ବୋଲି ମହି ତେଣୁ ମୁଁ ଆସିଅଛି ଧାଇଁ. Thus the aim of Mahima Goswami was to restore peace by establishing Satya and Dharma. This Sunya Purusa is the Purna Akhandita Brahma. He is Alekha, whose glory cannot be written by mere words. There is a similar line of thought, Chatovakyam Nivartanti. Mahima Dharma is otherwise called as, therefore Mahima Dharma is otherwise called as Satya Mahima Dharma. Researchers like Nilamani Senapati, Dr. Pavitra Mohan Naik, it has been indicated by them that a person, a tall copperite sannyasi named Mukunda Das, is Mahima Swami, who appeared in Puri in 1826 as Dhulia Baba, who defeated the Pandits in the Mukti Mandap of Puri Sri Jagannath temple to establish Ekeswara Vada, reality as non-dual, one and the only one. The view is found in the Advaita Vedanta Eka Brahma Dutiyar Nasti. He then went to Kapilas and engaged in meditation for 24 years in Atma Samadhi Yoga by taking water. Therefore, he is sometimes called as Nirahari Baba. The Dhenkanal king Bhagirathi Brahmarbara became his disciple and arranged all his requirements. There, Mukunda Das initiated Govinda Baba, who became his first disciple, later on known as Jagannath Dasa. In course of time, both Govinda Das and Mukunda Das, Govinda Baba and Mukunda Das, hereafter called as Mahima Goswami, came to the house of Bhima Bhoi near Rairakhol. As the dead hour of the night, Bhima Bhoi was astonished to see the signs like Shankha and Chakra, and he was instructed to write devotional poems for the propagation of Mahima, a new religious order. Bhima was initiated and given the power to compose poems for the newly established religion. Now we come to Bhima Bhoi, and as per the grace of Mahima Swami, Bhima Bhoi got Divya Chakshu, and his eyes opened, internal eyes opened, and he started composing devotional poems, which could be easily understood by common man. He introduced a new religion to the people, stating that the reality is one and the only one. He is transcendent and immanent. He resides in Brahmaloka, Mahanityapura, Mahima Mandala, and all the same time he is found everywhere. Stabaru, Jangama, Kitaru, Patanga, Chahi, Dele, Anusari, Sakala, Khatare, Puri, Samanare, Nohe, Sana, Vada, Kari. Reality is one and the only one. He is Anadi, Anakar, and Sunya. The meaning of Sunya is Purna. He is Purna Akhandita Brahman. The individual self or Jiva is identical with Parama or the highest reality. Man is the son of immortality, Amrutasya Putra. Let us not worship the idol because it is only a stone. Let us serve the humanity, the man who is living, who is the living God, instead of worshipping idols. Mahima Dharma is against worship of God and goddesses. In a peculiar way, Mahima Swami narrates that Lord Jagannath and other god and goddesses are serving Olekho as his gatekeepers. About Bhima Bhoi, it is said that he belongs to a poor Kandha family, lost his parents from early childhood, thus the life was very miserable for him. Garbhodhari mata pita chhadi gale balyaru nisaka kari. So he led the life of an orphan, and he has to rear the cattle in the nearby forest to earn his livelihood. Even he used to drink water from the fountain to manage his hunger and thirst. In the evening, he would listen to the recitations of the Mahabharata, Ramayana, Bhagavad Gita, Lakshmi Purana, and other works of Panchasakhas in the Bhagavad Tungi, and he could memorize them because of his sharp photographic memory. Once, while he was moving with the cattle, he fell down in a well, as the story runs, and subsequently, Mahima Swami rescued him from the well. The first incident of meeting Mahima Swami in the form of a sannyasi begging alms in the village road when he was 4 years. The second incident was his initiation, and the third one is his rescue from the deep well. These are the three important events in the life of Bhima Bhoi. Mahima Gosai had instructed him to compose poems which were noted down by four scribes named Haripanda, Basupanda, Dharmananda Das, and Markanda Das. These poems are written on palm leaf, and they were sent to Joronda for approval of his guru. Bhima's works were not published during his lifetime, and he was not known to the world outside him, although his contemporary poets and writers like Gangadhar Meher and writers like Fakir Mon and others have got recognition. It is Professor B.C. Majumdar, in his typical selections of Oriya literature, discovered Bhima Bhoi, and he came to the limelight. So many researchers like Artavallabh Mohanty, Professor Sitakanta Mahapatra, Dr. Sitakanta Mahapatra, Professor Saturghna Nath, Professor Chittaranjan Das, H.K. Mahtab, Bhagirathi Nepak, Mayadhar Mansingh, N.N. Basu, Ekadashi Pradhan, Tirthanda Mishra, Professor S.C. Panigrahi, Chandra Patnaik, and many scholars have highlighted Bhima Bhoi's work as unique. Even the couplets by Bhima Bhoi is placed in the Ashoka Hall in the Parliament and United Nations Organization. Attempts have been made to popularize his writing in the form of Granthavali. The first one by Birokeshwar Das in 1971, and the latest in 2020 by Pavitra Mohan Nayak. It is Vishwanath Baba who tried his best to highlight the works of Bhima Bhoi, although he gave Mahima philosophy a Vishuddhadvaitavada, a pure non-island one. So Bhima's works are Stuti Chundamani, Nirveda Sadhana, Brahma Nirupana Gita, Shruti Nishedha Gita, Adyanta Gita, Bhajana Mala, Ashtaka Vihari Gita, and Mahima Vinod. These are all the books, these are all the works made by him, which were published posthumously. Bhima admits that it is due to the grace of his Guru or Guru Krupa he could write poems. He says, Sunya Sunya Mahasunya Alekha Purusa Brahma Nirupana Gita Karamote Drusya. It shows that he has an intuitive power by which he could compose four stanzas at a time and finish them. We find a kind of a similar kind of power in case of Sarala Das, who used to write by the grace of Goddess Sarala, and Upendra Bhanja by the study of Rama Taraka Mantra, Rama Taraka Mantra Parasade Mohara Kavi Pana Ude. As you know, also in Joy Deva's Gita Govinda, it is God who came in the form and write Dehi Pada Pallava Mudaram. So, Bhima Bhai was uh, endowed with some gifted qualities to compose poems. So it is he is the propagator of Punya Brahman. The highest reality is Sunya. It is Purna, beyond the speech and language. The individual self, Jiva, is same as Parama or highest reality. Alekha, the ultimate reality, Alekha, has created the entire universe. Like Vivekananda, he was suggesting not to search for a god in the temple, rather to serve a man in need who really is the living God. Himabhai was a spiritual humanist. Himabhai gave emphasis to his philosophical conviction in the language of common man. He can be taken as a radicalist, a reformer who was vocal about the exploitation of perpetuated in the name of religion. The very tradition of worship is questioned by him and realizes that the ultimate reality is Sunya Brahman, a unique amalgamation of Advaitic Brahman and Madhyamika Sunya at the same time, not simple void but Purna Brahma. Bhimabhai explains the ultimate reality by the seminal concepts like Mahima Dharma, that is Alekha and Mahima. Unlike other religions, philosophy of Bhimabhai is not God-centric but humanocentric. Mahima Dharma, according to him, is not to be preached but to be practiced. He doesn't perceive any cleavage among the threefold means of God realization, namely Jnana, Karma, and Bhakti. According to him, all these paths are complementary in the sense that each path aims at the vision of unity in diversity in the intense love for the creation as Sunya Purusa pervades in every object, animate and inanimate. To express such prescriptives perspectives, he coins the term Niskama Karma, Niskama Jnana, and Niskama Bhakti. The knowledge of the ultimate reality as immanent and transcendent doesn't remain as an abstract reality, but results in sharing the sorrows of humanity. The chief motivation which stands out and in and through in the writings of the philosopher poet is his utter concern and empathy for the fellow men and fervent zeal to help them to come out of suffering, which can be seen in his earnest prayer, Mojibana pache narke padithau, jagata uddhara heu. Let my life suffer eternal in the hell, but the entire world be salvaged. The he prays to the Lord for the awakening of Hetu Cheta, the discriminative intellect in everyone, so that they can make a distinction between value and disvalue, eternal and ephemeral. He also appeals to Lord to salvage men from moral degradation and wishes that all people should rise above the illusion and duplicacy and have an emasculative character. This has led scholars to conclude that Bhima Bhai was trying to champion the cause of humanism. Humanism, as an articulated system of thought, assumes that man is free, dignified, and is the ultimate end, and that non-human existence, that is animals and plants, are means having instrumental value. But the spiritual humanism of Bhimabhai doesn't treat man as an end in relation to the non-human who are means. The Vedantic vision of unity made him think beyond the human species and embrace the non-humans in the sweep. He praised Olekho that not only to save the human species but also the animals, birds, insects, flora and fauna who are none other than kindred selves and God himself. The difference between animate and inanimate is one of degree but not of kind. Therefore, everything becomes an end. The spirituality in the hands of Bhimabhai comes to embrace the whole within the ambit, and it entails the form of humanism which transcends man while securing the interest of man to the greatest, to the highest possible extent. Here, to say that Bhimabhai's humanism transcends man doesn't imply that it is transcendental. Rather, it means the removal of ignorance and discovery of the innate divinity present in man. that is the identity of Pinda, microcosm, and Brahmanda, macrocosm. Pinda is the same as Brahmanda. Same thing we find in Leibnizian concept that each monad or incorporeal automata as represented the universe, macrocosm in microcosm. The individual self jiva is same as the highest reality. Now he says jiva and param they should meet each other for salvation. जेन्हे जलधार सही परकार जंत्र रे सूत्र को धरी चियाई चैतन्य भेटा भेटी कर जीव परम को करी. So in the conclusion I can say it is Bhima Bhoi who can be told as a saint. As you know, there is a distinction between a sadhu and a saint. A sadhu leads a very right life, who leads a very perfect life, and he looks at his own interest. But a santha, he dedicates his life not for himself but for the sake of others. Like Nattuhang kamay rajyang na swargang na punarbhavang kamay dukkha taptanang praninang artanasanang. In the true sense of the term, we can call Bhima Bhoi as a santha. He can be compared to Shankar, Ramanuj, Tukaram, Ramakrishna, Dadu, Narsi Mehta, Kabir, Nanak, all these saints, and he is perhaps the last saint in the list. So, but Bhimo in a very humble manner says, Nihe sadhu santa nuhai pandita prakruti atithi muhi. I am neither a sadhu nor a santa nor a pandit. I am a real guest. And this shows his magnanimity, this shows his greatness. Let me conclude that a lot of research has been done. Even scholars from German have come over to Odisha to do research on Bhima Bhoi. Still then, there are a lot of works that to be done, and only Stuti Chintamani has been translated into English and it has been interpreted, and there are a lot of works which has to be done. And as you know, the latest Granthavali has been very recently, in last say 15 days, it was published by Friends Publisher in 2020 by Professor Nayak. Professor Nayak, the last compendium published very recently. So a lot of work has to be done, and Mahima Dharma truly represents the Odishan culture. We have to procure our culture, and we have to see how Mahima Dharma, a man belonging to a very remote place, maybe Redakol or interior Khaliapali, could hope for the betterment of the world, and he hopes for a future better world. With these words, I must congratulate the organizers for giving me a chance to speak something about Bhima Bhoi. It is a vast ocean. I am yet to start my journey. I am an novice one. I am entering into the depth. I don't know how far I have represented Mahima Dharma and Bhima Bhoi. A lot of work has to be done, and I am initiating my work in this regard. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks to my friends, my comrades, my well-wishers who are there in the meeting. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, hello.
Hello.
Thanks so much, Professor Harishchandra Sahu sir, for your thought-provoking talk on the philosophy of Bhima Bhoi and Mahima Dharma. Sir, we are very much acquainted with your dynamic approach of presentation in every seminar. Sir, very excellently, you have reflected upon the life and philosophy of Mahima Gosai, who has descended upon the earth to establish a classless and casteless society. You have clearly stated as to how Mahima Dharma is a new religious cult, and while exploring the humanistic vision of Bhima Bhoi, you have made a clarification of the concepts like Sunyabada, Sunya Purusha, Alekha, Alekha Purusha, Jiva, Parama, Chaitanya, Shabda, etc. Thanks so much for your conceptual clarification. May I now request Sri Pramod Kumar Das to present a concluding remark on the talk of Professor Das, Professor Sahu. Pramod, over to Pramod.
Yes, sir. Sir, namaskar, sir.
Okay.
Uh, I am really grateful to Dr. Sahu, who delivered his talk on this topic very nicely. Uh, Dr. Sahu spoke of four aspects: the metaphysical aspect, sociological aspect, historical aspect, and literary aspects. So I shall not go to the sociological, historical, and literary aspects. I shall only speak of the metaphysical aspect because that is the essence of the talk. In Indian philosophy, this is a common declaration by all philosophical systems that life is full of suffering. From even in the Upanishads, this common declaration is there that life is full of suffering, man is in bondage, and man needs to be liberated, or jiva needs to be liberated. So bondage and liberation, this is the common discussion in every philosophical system, whether it is a theistic or atheistic system. Buddha does not believe in soul, Buddha does not believe in God, even Buddha does not believe in a permanent life, but Buddha also declares that human life is full of suffering and bondage is the ultimate goal, nirvana is the ultimate goal of life. And those who believe in God, those who believe in soul, believe in Atman, Brahman, they also declare the same thing, that life is full of suffering and liberation is the goal of life. So whether a system is theistic or atheistic, that does not matter. The philosophical discussion focuses on the common fact that human life is full of suffering, bondage is the fact of life, and liberation is the goal. So the movement of Mahima Dharma goes in that direction which was before that I told that discussion about bondage and liberation is common to all philosophical systems. But what was the uniqueness in Mahima Dharma, that when we speak of atheistic systems, they discuss about bondage and liberation, they discuss about ethics, but they were silent about the existence of any supramental entity. They were silent about the idol worship, and they were silent about bhakti movement. And when we discuss about theistic systems, they believe in the existence of a God, and they focus on that only. So that also leads to another type of dogmatism. Mahima Dharma is a synthesis of these two. He believes in monism, which is metaphysical by nature, and also he believes in monotheism, which is a theistic approach. So Alekha system or Mahima Dharma is a monistic system and also a monotheistic system, because Mahima Dharma preaches the complete synthesis of Jnana, Karma and Bhakti. So our Niskama attitude or Nirguna knowledge of Nirguna or Nirakara, that is not only understood in knowledge, that should be practiced in Bhakti and Karma. Nirguna Bhakti, Nirguna Karma, Nirguna Nirguna Bhakti, that we can worship, but we should not be indulged in any particular image. So Mahima Dharma rejected the worship of the idols, thinking that it is dogmatic by nature, and he believes in God. So he is a synthesis between Advaitavada and Vishishtadvaitavada. In Advaitavada, Brahman is accepted as the ultimate truth, but world is rejected as Maya. In Vishishtadvaitavada, both Jagat and world are accepted as real, but in Vishishtadvaitavada, Ramanuja believes in the worship of the idols. So from Advaitavada, Mahima Dharma accepts the notion of non-dualism, and from Vishishtadvaitavada, Mahima Dharma accepts the notion of worship but rejects the idol worship. That there is only one God, that God is all pervaded, that God is immanent and transcendent, that God is Sunya. Sunya means it is indescribable. Sunya means it is all inclusive, it is Purna. That means religion is that which does not believe in any types of discrimination. If there is any type of discrimination in respect of idol worship or in respect of caste, class, creed, color, etc., then that is not religion. So religion should be all inclusive, and it is possible when we shall believe in monism and monotheism. When we shall believe in Nirguna, when we shall believe in Nirakara Satta, when we shall believe in something transcendental and at the same time immanent. So that Mahima Dharma is unique because it is a synthesis of Jnana and Bhakti. And that philosophy is reflected in social life, the personal life of a common man. And that has been propagated by the literature of Bhima Bhoi and many others. And Sir beautifully explained all these aspects, but I just focused on the metaphysical aspect of Mahima Dharma. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much, Pramod, for your nice observation on the talk of Harish sir. Your summarization of the talk of Professor Star has reflected how you have deep understanding of the topic and deep understanding of the philosophy of Bhima Bhoi and Mahima Dharma. Thanks so much. Now, Dr. K. Omnaran Rao, Assistant Professor of Philosophy, Niranjana Government Women's College, ASCA, is with us. May I request him to moderate the interactive session? Hello. Hello, Dr. Rao.
Thank you.
Okay.
Namaskar, everybody. I don't see any questions in the chat box, but we have professors like Professor Dhaneshwar Sahu sir, Professor Ranjit Ghosh, and many others. May I request anybody of them to comment or make observations on what Professor Harish Sahu has said during the course of his lecture? If anybody wants to make a comment on that or raise specific issues or make certain observations, they are welcome. I requested first Professor Dhaneshwar Sahu sir to make some observations. He is a senior professor and very well known throughout the state and the nation. So some comments from him would add value to this webinar. Professor Sahu.
Am I audible?
Namaskar sir. Yes, you are audible, sir. You are audible.
I thank Harish Babu and Pramod Babu for their illuminating presentations. I also thank Kolas Babu and Narayan Babu for their nice exposition of the idea of this seminar. Some ideas come to my mind when I was listening to the talk of my good friend Harish Babu. Do we consider Mahima Dharma as a separate religion, or we consider it to be a sect within Hinduism? This is one important question to my mind. Can we give it a separate identity, that it is different from Hinduism, or it is within Hinduism a sect or factor philosophy is a sect within Hinduism. Shaivism is a sect within Hinduism. Similarly, can we take Mahima Dharma to be a sect within Hinduism, or it is totally different from Hinduism? This is one thing so far. I think this is something not clear. Then regarding the sociological approach, that what was the social scenario in those days? My friend Harish Babu told that the Mahima Dharma represents a true culture of Odisha. But Mahima Dharma, to the best of my knowledge, also he says it, that it does not worship, it does not promote idol worship. But idol worship, Jagannath worship is very much inherently present in Odishan life. So, Jagannath cult worshipping so many deities, Lakshmi Puja, Ganesh Puja, Saraswati Puja, so many pujas are continuing in Odishan life. So, idol worship has become a part of Odishan life. And while Mahima Dharma is against idol worship. So, in what respect Mahima Dharma represents a true culture of Odisha, that is also a point of debate. Then, so far Mahima Gosai is concerned, who was originally Mukunda Das, and later on he was called Mahima Gosai. Most of the time, what happens in our social life, somebody who has achieved some greatness, many myths and miracles are attributed to him. As if without a miracle, his greatness cannot be established. This is a very Indian mindset. We know Kalidas was a great poet, and so many myths and so many miracles have been associated with his name. Similarly, Shankar. Similarly, Ramanuj. Take any great person, and we find many miracles have been associated, have been attributed to them, as if without miracle, he cannot become a great thinker or a great social reformer or a great humanist like that. Because he said that Mukunda Das had no parentage. He is not born from any human being. So these are all fantasies and myths. Mukunda Das, he was a very much human being who later on became Mahima Gosai, and he must have his parents, he must have human origin. So these are some of the myths. And again, some people attribute that when Mukunda Das and Govinda Das went and called on Bhima Bhoi, who was living in a small village, and he was a blind person. Then he visualized Narayana, that Brahma, in Mukunda Das. So he was blind. In what way he had perceived that a great saint has come to him? This is also another myth. Bhima Bhoi, by innate nature, he was a great poet. We cannot deny it because he has made great contribution to Odia literature. And even today, many people might not be knowing Holadhara Nag. Recently, he got that great award from Indian government. He is not educated. He is illiterate, but he has written volumes of poems. Similarly, a great lady is there in Fulbani who is totally illiterate, but he has composed great lyrics, thousands of lyrics. So somebody may be a great poet, it is his innate capacity, it is innately present with some literary talents. So, but Bhima Bhoi similarly might be a great, is in fact a great person, is a great poet and great visionary, great humanist. So, but some people also present Bhima Bhoi in a different angle. Those who might have read Desakala Patra, they might be knowing that how Bhima Bhoi has been criticized by the author, Jagannath Das. in his presentation of Bhima Bhoi. So these are some of the points that come to my mind while I was listening to the talk of my friend. Then Pramod Babu, he makes a distinction that says that life is full of suffering. Man is in bondage. This is something inherently present in almost all systems of Indian philosophy, and man wants to be liberated. That the very concept of liberation, what does liberation mean? That can we get liberation after life, after death? So there is a controversy, and again, within the concept of liberation, the Buddhist view of liberation is totally different from the Vedantic view of liberation. The Vedantic view of liberation is totally different from the narrow view of liberation. And so also regarding the concept of soul, we find many incompatibilities. The concept of soul, Advaita Vedanta will take consciousness to be inherently present. It is the essential feature of the soul. But by such narrow text, consciousness is not the inherently present. When the soul comes in contact with your body, it becomes conscious. The Charvak view of soul, the narrow view of soul, Buddhist view of soul, the Vedantic view of soul, all are not only incompatible, they are contradictory to each other. So these are all great speculations, metaphysical speculations, and metaphysical speculations in the analytic era, they have lost their significance, and philosophy is not to be involved in making speculations and reading all these speculations, but philosophy to try to free our mind from these metaphysical speculations and make human life more pragmatic and more meaningful in the social context. Excuse me for some of my observations. If anybody is hot with my questioning, then I may be excused. Thank you, my friends, for giving me this opportunity to share some of my ideas. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much, sir. You have pointed very genuine things, and I request Professor Harisau sir to make a comment on what Professor Dhaneshwar Sahu has said. 4 things Professor Dhaneshwar Sahu pointed out. Number 1, whether Islam is a religion or a sect within the Hindu or within Hinduism. Number 2, the idol worship, that is the true essence of Hinduism and also Taoism concept, but idol worship is missing in Mahima Dharma. Now the third thing that Professor Sahu has is associated with Mahima Dharma. Says Mahima Dharma or Mahima Dharma is more a humanistic approach rather than a religious one. So over to Professor Harisau sir to make observation or to reply to what Professor Dhaneshwar Sahu has pointed out. Over to Harisau sir.
No, Professor Ghosh wants to speak something. Professor Ghosh wants to speak something.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, please.
Yes. Professor Harish Chandra Sahu has presented it very nicely and in a shorter form, so that it can generate a great many discussions on it. So I must thank him for this. Now, when he separated these things, what I personally feel that if we want to put him Bhima Bhoi as a reformer or Mahima Dharma itself as a reformative movement, then their propagation of spiritual humanism must require some base, and that is for that reason I think when Dr. Pramod Kumar Das said that in Mahima philosophy we see a culmination of the Advaita and the Visishtadvaita, then I think that much will be that can be taken as the base for propagating a type of spiritual humanism. That means unless, of course, my friend Professor Dhaneshwar Sahu may not agree to this, but some type of spiritual element is required. And unless that spiritual element is nurtured in every human being, no humanistic philosophy can grow. This is one thing. And the second thing, I think Mahima Dharma can be placed under the mainframe Hinduism, because it is a separate type of philosophy, no doubt, but it is a culmination of Advaita, Visishtadvaita, and also this Nirguna Brahman and the Sunna philosophy, because it is said that when the Mahima Gosai was called upon by the Mukti Mandapa Sabha, there he said that yes, it is Param Brahman, but it is a Nirguna Brahman. It is Sunna Purusha. That is what he said before the Mukti Mandapa Brahmins. So the thing is, this sociological aspect is to be given importance for this reason, that all the brutalities and all the shortcomings of Hinduism have been rectified to some extent by Mahima Dharma, and also by the poetic lyrical style of presentation by Bhima Bhoi. This much I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your observations. Now over to Professor Harish Sahu, sir, for making his comment on the observations made by Professor Dhaneshwar Sahu, sir, and Professor Ranjit Dhruv, sir.
I beg to state that if you look at Hinduism, it is still a debatable issue. Some say that Mahima Dharma could be brought under the fold of Hinduism because of its widerness. Some say no, it is separate one. But to my mind, it can come under Hinduism. It is just an extension of Hinduism. And as regards to the sociological aspect, if you look at the social scenario, maybe Bhima Bhoi and other people, they are all tortured by the Rajas, Zamindars and Gauntias of that time. And the people are tortured like anything else. So the suffering is due to ignorance, due to lack of knowledge, due to lack of education. So there was a revolt within the system. And I could refer to a book written by Deo, where the sociological aspect is very clearly depicted by a book by Phanindam Deo. How it is a sociological movement. Mahima Dharma is a sociological movement. And as regards to culture, how can you eradicate the culture within a very short span of time? So Bhima Bhoi speaks of Jagannath. Although he doesn't give high esteem to Jagannath, but he speaks of Jagannatha, he speaks of Kali, he speaks of Saraswati, he speaks of the Kali Yuga. So these are all there in Hindu system. So we cannot, if you consider a culture to be a sedimentation, so how can you bring them, how can you set them aside? It is a part and parcel of it. And no doubt, Bhima Bhoi has taken a stand to make a kind of social reformation and social change. So this is my observation regarding. And criticism is there. Even Gandhi was criticized, even Radhakrishnan was criticized by his own son. So criticism will be there. But we have to look at the brighter side, the positive counterparts, the positive things there in the philosophy of Bhima Bhoi and Mahima Dharma. Thank you very much.
Sir, one more thing. Do you have anything to say about the myths associated with Mahima Gosai that Professor Dhaneshwar Sahu wanted to know?
No, it is Bhima Bhoi who made Mukunda Das a hero. So had there been no a heroic personality, so he has given some names that he is Ajani Sambhuta, but he was really a man, because it was depicted that he breathed his last in Joranda. So this Mukunda Das, who was given the name of Mahima Goswami, breathed his last in Joranda, where Bhima Bhoi had been too, after his death. So he is a human being, but sometimes we exaggerate human being to a higher status. Look at the case of Krishna. Krishna was also killed by Jarasandha. So, in every religion, you find mythology as a part of it, and this thing has been very clearly stated by Professor Naik, Pavitra Naik. In very recently, maybe last 15 days, he has published a book, Bhimabhai Granthavali. In the introductory chapter, he has made clarified how Bhimabhai made illuminated Mukunda Das to be a Mahima Swami. If one reads the introduction, a very clear understanding. I immediately telephoned him, sir, is it Mukunda Das the Mahima Gosai? He said, yes, it is very much. So it is Mukunda Das whom Bhima Bhoi made a hero. That's all.
Thank you very much, sir. Now I request Professor Pramod Kumar Das to respond to the observations made by Professor Dhaneshwar Sahu, sir. Over to Pramod Das.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Dhaneshwar sir, Dhaneshwar sir, namaskar, sir. I listened to you about
Namaskar.
Namaskar, sir. Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar.
You said that the concept of liberation has been interpreted in different philosophical systems in various ways, and that is based upon speculation, philosophical speculations. I agree, but I do not agree that to the point that liberation may be speculatively interpreted by different philosophers in different philosophical systems, because a theistic system will interpret in its own way, an atheistic system will interpret in its own way, an orthodox system will interpret in its own way, a heterodox system will interpret in its own way. Okay, so the followers of different systems will interpret the concept in different ways. We are not interested in interpretations. If we accept that life is full of suffering, this is the common declaration of the philosophic wisdom so far available. If we accept that, forget human life, if I observe that I am in suffering, suffering means my limitations, because I am not Dhaneshwar sir. Dhaneshwar sir is not Vivekananda, because different people are different personalities, they have their own limitations, and that is the and that limitation is due to ignorance. So ignorance is accepted as the root cause of a bondage. This is the common fact. So we have to understand liberation only by this, without having any speculation that freedom from that bondage is liberation. That may be interpreted in differently by different philosophers. We shall not go to that, but very common sense, if there is bondage, if there is a chain, if there is any limitation, going beyond that limitation, being freed from that bondage is liberation, and this is accepted by all. Our destination is liberation, but whether it is interpreted in this way or that way, that is something different. Therefore I told that many systems do not believe in the existence of soul or existence of a god, but they believe in bondage and liberation. So naturally they will interpret in their ways, but that is the common tenet, and Mahima Dharma also goes in that direction. It is not an exception. And secondly, I shall respond to Dr. Sahu, Harishchandra Sahu, that I do not agree, or also I have read somewhere that it is not Hinduism. It does not propagate Hinduism, because Mahima Dharma is the movement that goes beyond any ism. Mahima Dharma is not confined to any ism. That is the revolution. This movement came only to go beyond any ism. It is Hinduism, not even Hinduism. No ism at all. Therefore it is Alekha. Therefore it is Nirguna. Therefore it is Nirakara. That is the sense. if we shall confine, that is bondage. If we find ourselves in any regime, that is bondage. Liberation is going beyond all regimes. So this is the philosophy of humanity. Only Hindus are not human. When we speak of humanity, spiritual humanity, that is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That is very holistic approach. It embraces all. It embraces all diversities. It is the religion of indiscrimination of any type, any form. So it is the universal. We may call it universal religion or alekha. Alekha means which cannot be described by any regime. That is my response to both Dhaneshwar Sahu and sir and Harish Chandra Sahu sir. This is my observation. I may be wrong.
Thank you very much, sir, for your observation. If Professor
अच्छा
Sahu, Dhaneshwar
मोर
Sahu,
किछि
sir, welcome, sir, welcome.
अच्छा सुबुच मो कथा
Oh, sir, Subhuchi, sir.
अच्छा मो विचार रे मैं ओडिया कहूची समस्त तो ओडिया ना अन ओडिया के नथिए बोधे
मैं ओडिया रे कौन
अच्छा मो विचार रे जेते ह्यूमन सफरिंग्स अछि सबु ह्यूमन सफरिंग होची सामाजिक कारण सहित संश्लिष्ट मोर सफरिंग्स जेकोसी मनुष्यर सफरिंग can be mitigated by his society. If he is suffering from any disease, it can be mitigated by medical help. If he has poverty, it can be mitigated by some other means by the society. So human sufferings, आमे गोटे मेटाफिजिकल पोजिशन को न नहीं ह्यूमन सफरिंग्स को यदि आमे सामाजिक कॉन्टेक्स्ट रे देखिबा ताहले most of human sufferings can be mitigated by human attempt, by human endeavor. आउ वर्तमान अनेकंकर धारणा जे कली जुगटा बहुत खराब हो गला जेमि से हरीश बाबू भी गोटे कोट कले जे कली जुग रे सब पाप आसी गला किंतु मु भाबुची जदि भी कोठी अन्य किछि जुग थिला त्रेता जुग कि द्वापर जुग तापेक्षा फार बेटर होची वर्तमान रो जुग कारण एई जुग रे गणतांत्रिक चेतना मानविक अधिकार कोठी कोन टिके ह्यूमन प्रॉब्लम हेले सारा पृथ्वी रो लोक माने चिंता करूचंती ता उपरे केमिति ह्यूमन सफरिंग्स को आमे मिटिगेट करि परिबा बा सॉल्व करि परिबा एई कथा केबे दुनिया रे केबे संभव ही नथिला तेनु सभ्यतार इतिहास को जो माने पढिबे एवं एई 100 वर्ष भितरे मनुष्य सभ्यता जो स्थिति को जाईची गोटे इंटरनेशनल माइंड ग्रो करिची गोटे कॉस्मोपॉलिटन विजन ग्रो करिची और जो कथा प्रमोद बाबू कहिले जे गोटे वसुंधैव कुटुंबकम एक ये सब केवल गोटे फिलोसॉफिकल जने महान व्यक्ति गोटे ह्यूमनिस्टिक विजन भारतवर्ष रे या कहानी चाहे कोट नथिला आपण मान जदि आंबेडकर को पढ़िबे जान तो 7 लाख गाँ जो देखिबे ओ अवस्था रे दलित माने रहितंती भारतीय मानसिकता रे शूद्र मानक प्रति दलित मानक प्रति जो अत्याचार होईची तार कहानी एते लोमहर्षणकारी जदि थरे आंबेडकर को पढ़िबे थरे ज्योतिराव फुले को पढ़िबे थरे पेरियार को पढ़िबे तो जानिबे भारतर सामाजिक स्थिति तो भारतवर्षर सामाजिक स्थिति जहा सेठी मानविकतार गंध नहीं जो माने मानविकतार कथा कहछन्ती से माने दार्शनिक मानववादी चिंतक किंतु आम सामाजिक व्यवस्था आम अर्थनैतिक व्यवस्था आम सांस्कृतिक व्यवस्था सबुठी भेदभाव 100% भरपूर होकर रही तेणु गोटे भेदभाव विहीन समाज परिकल्पना केवल आसी यूरोपीय रिनासांस पर एनलाइटनमेंट जुग पर सभ्यता को आसी भारतीय मानकर विशेष किसी कंट्रीब्यूशन नहीं एपरिक आम जाने आम देश अस्पृश्यता रही आम देश कौन नाला आम देश महिला मान प्रति कि प्रकार व्यवहार था आज कि प्रकार व्यवहार रही तो ये हूँ सामाजिक वास्तवता जिते ह्यूमन सफरिंग्स ताकू आम सामाजिक कंटेक्स्ट डिस्कसन करवा उचित ताकू आम मिस्टिफाई करी कौन से आत्मा पुनर्जन्म मोर कौन से जो पाप पूर्वजन्म पाप ये सब कथा को कहवा अर्थ मु भावुची वी डू अवे विथ द ह्यूमन प्रॉब्लम्स तेणु अनेक बंधु को हुए तो मोर विचार मो भावना भल न लगी पारे किंतु ए दिगरु मध्य चिंता करिया पई मु मोर ज्ञानी साथी माननको निवेदन करूछि। धन्यवाद, नमस्कार।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आपनकर जो रेस्पॉन्स टा बहुत भलो लागिला, बिकॉज़ जो suffering भी अच्छी, whatever suffering that we have, we should not take to the metaphysical height to solve the suffering. Rather, we can mitigate the suffering. We can end up the suffering from the human effort, from the sociological angle, from the social angle. We can mitigate the problems. We can cut short the problems. We can even drag out the evil from the world in which we exist.
Now, Professor Rao,
That is a great
Professor
point.
Rao, sorry to interrupt.
Thank you, Professor. Come on, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I want to give one remark on Professor Dhaneshwar Sahu's in social reformation. He must be knowing this. We can distinguish between Phule and Periyar. Okay, so in Phule also, Phule admits the spiritual elements, and in widely he was very much disturbed with the then scenario, and he said that the Western education has helped him to reform this society. All these things are there, but still he never he was not so very antagonistic in the way in which you find Periyar to be. What Dhaneshwar Sahu will say on this?
Okay, sir. Okay. Anyway, the opinions differ, and both the sides can be taken to be the views, and
Hello,
can be,
hello, sir.
we have Pramod sir again.
I shall speak only one sentence.
Welcome.
ଧନେଶ୍ୱର ସାର୍ଙ୍କ ଘରେ ମୁଁ ବସିଛି, ସାର୍ଙ୍କ ସାମ୍ନାରେ ମୁଁ ବସିଛି। ସାର୍ ମୋତେ ଭଲ ଭାବରେ ଜାଣିଛନ୍ତି, ଆଉ ମୁଁ ସାର୍ଙ୍କୁ ଭଲ ଭାବରେ ଜାଣିଛି। ମନେ କରାଯାଉ ଆମେ ସାମ୍ନାସାମ୍ନି ବସିଛୁ, ଆମେ ପରସ୍ପରକୁ ଜାଣିଛୁ। ସାର୍ ଜାଣିଛନ୍ତି ଯେ ମୁଁ ଗୋଟେ ମୋରାଲ ପର୍ସନ୍, ମୁଁ ଜାଣିଛି ଯେ ସାର୍ ହେଉଛନ୍ତି ଜଣେ ମୋରାଲ ପର୍ସନ୍। ଯଦି ଆମେ ଦୁଇ ଜଣ ଯାକ ମୋରାଲ ହେଇପାରିଛୁ, ପରଫେକ୍ଟ ହେଇପାରିଛୁ, ତେବେ ଆମ ଭିତରେ ଡିଫରେନ୍ସ ହେଉଛି ଏତିକି, I am a believer and he is a disbeliever. That does not matter at all in Indian philosophy. I have told that in many philosophical systems are there, they believe in metaphysics, and some systems they do not believe in metaphysics, but their common trait is same, that is suffering and how humanity will be free from suffering. So theists and atheists both speak the same thing, same message is passed to the humanity. I mean that ଆମେ ଯାଉଛୁ ଗୋଟେ ଡିରେକ୍ସନରେ, ଗୋଟେ ଜାଗାରେ ଆମେ ପହଞ୍ଚି ଗଲୁ, ସାର୍ଙ୍କ ପକେଟରେ କିଛି ନାହିଁ, ମୋ ପକେଟରେ ଗୋଟେ ଶାଳଗ୍ରାମ ଅଛି। ଡିଫରେନ୍ସ କ'ଣ? I believe in that ଶାଳଗ୍ରାମ. That does not mean that I became imperfect. ସାର୍ଙ୍କ ପକେଟରେ ଶାଳଗ୍ରାମ ନାହିଁ, ତାର ଅର୍ଥ ବି ନୁହଁ ଯେ ସାର୍ imperfect. We both are perfect, but he is a disbeliever in metaphysics, I am a believer in metaphysics. So belief is belief. It is personal. It has nothing to do with any impact upon our personal life and social life, and that should not be. This is my humble submission to sir.
Okay. Nothing to take on like that. Actually, it's not an issue on believing or non-believing. It's not on belief and disbelief. It is not being theistic or non-theistic. It's nothing like that. It is all about humanistic effort. What Dhaneshwar Sahu sir has said is, we can solve the problems by the human effort. What the element of humanism that is missing in the human world, that has to be resolved, that has to be focused on to solve the human problems, rather than thinking those problems in a metaphysical sense. That is the message that Professor Sahu wants.
Yes, sir. I agree. I am just telling that both believers and disbelievers are human beings. The disbeliever is a man. The believer is also a man. They both exert their human effort to get free from suffering. But their approaches may be different.
Yes, approaches may be different.
The believer will believe. The believer believes that he gets strength from the spiritual entity. Okay, he may be inspired by that way, and the non-believer believes Non-believers also believe in principle. They are those who are non-believers in one entity. They also believe in something else. They believe that it can be done without such beliefs in metaphysics. Okay.
And both are
ଆମେ
views.
scooter ରେ ଯିବା କି bus ରେ ଯିବା କି plane ରେ ଯିବା, we have to reach in Delhi. If ଆମେ ଯେ ସମସ୍ତେ ଦିଲ୍ଲୀରେ ପହଞ୍ଚି ଗଲେ, it does not matter କିଏ କୋଉଥିରେ ଆସିଲା.
Both are the, yes, I agree on both the points. Both are the views. Now, no point can be discarded. What I see in Professor Sahu, Dhaneshwar Sahu sir, is he takes the side of Buddha. He wants to solve the problems in the society from the social angle, not to reflect on the metaphysical angle. He says the solution to the problems in the world lies in the human hands. A sort of human effort is required to get rid of the problems. That is his submission, and I do appreciate with his position. And your side, taking your side, I too also agree with that, in the sense that we can also deal with issues from a metaphysical angle, because the ultimate goal of human being lies in liberation from this world, and that's how metaphysics enters. So it can be taken, but what is specific to Professor Dhaneshwar Sahu sir is, don't think about the metaphysical sense, metaphysical angle. Think of the problems from the sociological angle. See what sort of human effort can be made to get rid of the problems that human beings face, and that would be a great contribution from the human beings in the society. Thank you very much, sir. I see a set of questions from Shravani Mishra, who is a girls' education coordinator in Samagra Shiksha Nayagarh. She is much influenced by the humanistic element in Bhima Bhai's. So what I could say is, she suggesting is the humanistic element in Mahima Dharma would be greatly taken to bring about peace and harmony in the society. And what one thing that attracts is, from the comment made by Professor Ranjit Ghosh sir, that a sort of spiritual element should be added to the humanistic element, so that humanism becomes more complete. So both a sort of spiritual humanism should be taken, should be propagated to bring out peace and harmony in the society. Over to Professor Harishchandra Sahu sir for the final comment.
Hello. One thing I want to say to Professor Sahu.
Yes, sir.
Mahima Dharma is also described as crypto Buddhism. That means the many things have to be explored as to whether there are the similarities. We are discussing about whether it can be put under the mainframe Buddhism, mainframe Hinduism, or it is Buddhism, because Buddhism was historically the role of Buddhism was to keep the ills and evils of Hinduism, to make free from ills and evils of Hinduism. That is how the Buddhism was Buddhism grown. But after that, again we find again the revival of Hinduism. So this crypto Buddhism, as Professor Mazumdar probably he refers to, if he has anything to say on this, so that will be illuminating. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ghosh. Over to Professor Harishchandra Sahu sir for making a final comment, taking into account the observations made by Professor Ranjit Ghosh, Professor Dhaneshwar Sahu sir, Professor Pramod Kumar Das, and Shravani Mishra. So, final comment from you, sir. Harish sir. Harish sir, are you there? Harish sir, yes, you are there. Sir, final comment on all this, sir. Sir, are you there? Please, Harish sir, please unmute yourself. Harish sir, probably he's not able to listen to me. Harish sir,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. In case of Jagannath, we also call him as a Buddha. He is an avatar. Buddha is one kind of avatar in the fold of Jagannath. So sometimes in Mahima cult, there is also he is called as a Prabuddha. But there is a distinction. Buddhism perhaps maybe the Sunyavada, when we consider Sunyavada into account, perhaps Buddhism is compared to that, but they're totally different. That Sunyavada Buddhism is not same as the Sunyavada taken care by the Mahimas. And I fully agree with Professor Sahu that the Bhima Bhoi wanted to have a social change because he suffered, he himself suffered. He suffered by the Jamindars, the Gauntias, the landlords, the Rajas. They tortured like anything else. So he wanted to have a change. And perhaps Bhima Bhoi is the first person. He also wanted to have a change in case of women. The earlier women were not allowed to the Mahima sect, but he allowed them. And in a disciplined way, he allowed them to be in Mahima Dharma. So a social change he has hoped for, and evaluation part we can say whether it is successful or not. What was the past? What about the future? What is the road traversed and the road ahead about Mahima Dharma? It is there. It is there. Even Buddhism, which spread like anything else, also collapsed. And there is also change in Hinduism. So that is a different story altogether. But the fact remains that in Mahima Dharma, and especially when we talk of Bhima Bhoi, he wanted to have a social change, social transformation. Since all are equal, all men are equal, all must be treated on equal footing. Whether he is successful or not, that is a story different altogether. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Over to now. Thank you for the final remark. A lot of discussion has been made. I thank all the participants and also all professors who have made this webinar so successful, so thought-provoking, and have brought in a lot of elements for discussion. And it has really served great food for thought for further webinars and further discussions to be made personally at the personal levels. So a lot of things are there, a lot of misunderstandings may be there, a lot of disagreements may be there, but they can be resolved at the personal levels. Thank you for the various observations made by different professors. Now I over to Professor Kailash Chandra Mahana sir for the final comments.
Hello. Hello, thanks so much, Dr. Rao, for your nice way of moderating the interactive session. Today, the evening webinar is very reflective and informative. I enjoyed the observation and debate made by Professor Dhaneshwar Saab, Professor Ranjit Ghosh sir, P.K. Das, Shravani Mishra, and others. And I also enjoyed the brilliant response made by Professor Sahu. That is throughout. And I don't have any words to propose the gratitude to the speaker and to the question raisers. And may I request Dr. Om Naran Rao to again propose a vote of thanks, a cordial vote of thanks to the speaker and to the audience, and
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. At first, I would like to thank Professor Harishchandra Sahu sir for contributing to philosophy even after retirement. He is not sitting idle. He has taken a prestigious post in Case University and still working for the cause of philosophy. It's a great message to all of us, to the young scholars, that how one should be ever ready for the academic work. So he has contributed to the philosophy family for the cause of philosophy. I thank him very much from the core of my heart, and also from the side of philosophy family for accepting our invitation and presenting his views on the philosophy of Mahima Dharma. So it was a great evening. A lot of things he communicated to us. A lot of discussions followed his talk. So I thank him from the core of my heart once again. So we'll be prepared for future invitations from our side, so that we'll be learning from more and more from your side. Thank you very much, sir. I also thank Professor Dhaneshwar Sahu sir for making his observations. He's a great humanist. He's known for his sense of humanism, And in any seminar that we see, in any webinar, we have Dhaneshwar Sahu sir making very valuable contributions, very valuable comments on the issues, and he speaks so nicely, and his speech definitely touches everybody's heart and mind. Thank you very much, sir, for your participation, and I request to Professor Sahu to be a part of philosophy family and attend all the webinars, because I don't see you every time. So I request you to be in philosophy family and attend every webinar that we conduct, sir. That would add value, because as young scholars, we look towards you, to the senior professors, for more and more clarity on the issues. I also thank Professor Ranjit Ghosh sir, who is also a great contributor to philosophy. Even after retirement, he is making contribution to philosophy, and I see him participating in many webinars, and also the webinars conducted by Philosophy Family. So I thank you very much, sir, for your valuable suggestions, for your observations, and the way of questioning. So it is brilliant, and we are learning from you, sir. And also thank Srabadi Misra, who in the chat box has raised the influence of humanism, the element of humanism in Mohima Dharma that can be taken to propagate world peace and harmony. So I thank everybody, and also thank Professor Pramod Kumar Das for giving his ideas on the philosophy of Mahima Dharma and also Indian philosophy in general. So it was a very good evening for all of us. So everybody involved in this seminar, senior professors, students, and faculty members, for making this evening so nice, so successful. And from my side, I say it was an enjoyable evening. I learned a lot from you all professors. So I request you to be there in the future webinars too, to make philosophy family the objective of philosophy family, to spread knowledge among all of you, all of us. So with these words, I thank all of you for participating in the webinars conducted by Philosophy Family. Thank you all for your presence here. And also, finally, I thank all the participants, and also thank Dr. Kailash Chandra Maharana sir for coordinating today's event. So overall, this meeting is a great one. We learned a lot from the speaker and also all the professors who made certain observations on the issue. So still more things can be learned, can be discussed at the personal level. We have phone numbers, we can discuss, and even outside this platform. So it's a great evening for all of us. Thank you everybody for making this evening so successful.
Hello,
So,
hello,
thank you.
hello.
Yes, Professor Das.
Yes, sir. Sir, on behalf of Philosophy Family, we shall request Dhaneshwar Sahu sir to deliver a talk on any topic of his choice on the coming Sunday, that is
Oh,
11th April.
that would be
Sir is here, so sir, please respond, sir. Sir, give your
We
consent.
all
Professor Dhaneshwar Sahu sir.
Sir, Professor Sahu, Dhaneshwar Sahu, sir, please.
sir,
Please
it's a future request, sir.
Hello, Professor Dhaneshwar Sahu sir. Hello. Acha, okay, I shall request him over phone.
let us wait for 1.5 minutes. Maybe
Ha.
Professor Sahu, Dhaneshwar Sahu, sir. Professor Dhaneshwar Sahu, sir. No,
Okay. And
Professor Dhaneshwar, you can talk to him over phone and get the confirmation.
okay, and I am very much grateful to Professor Harishchandra Sahu sir for his brilliant presentation. Really, the Philosophy Family is grateful to you, sir. We shall invite you again and again with a beautiful topic. Thank you, sir.
Professor Dhaneshwar Sahu, sir, are you there? No. Well, Professor Das, you can contact Professor Sahu over phone. Okay, thank you.
The coming Sunday actually was scheduled for the topic Man and Morality by Professor Niranjan Padhi, but he is otherwise engaged. So that program is cancelled. So we shall request Professor Sahu to deliver a talk.
Yes.
That would be fine.
Thank you.
Dhaneshwar sir, are you there? Dhaneshwar sir.
You request me over phone.
I shall.
Okay.
I was doing that now, but it is not possible. Okay, I shall do that.
Okay, thank you.
Please close the meeting.